Hi, everybody. It's Sophie and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today we have a few more movies left in our relationship month, even though we're in the month of March. And we decided to do Mrs. Doubtfire, which is very interesting because it's coming up on the 25th anniversary of the filming of that. And it was a comedic movie released in 1993. At least on the face of it, I always thought it was just a comedy, right? I'll talk about that later. As part of Relationship Month, we decided to review this very popular movie, and who doesn't enjoy watching the late Robin Williams and his amazingly talented skills in improvisation? Also, revisiting this movie resulted in my appreciation of how a movie editor performs his or her magic on a film to make it as good as possible.
By cutting out good parts.
No, I don't agree. Anyway, in fact, Mrs. Doubtfire won an Academy Award for Best Makeup and 2 Golden Globes, one for Best Comedy or Musical Motion Picture, and Robin Williams for Best Actor. First, we'll talk about who's in the movie and a little about the plot. Robin Williams and Sally Field played Daniel and Miranda Hilliard, and Lisa Jacob, Mara Wilson, and Matthew Lawrence as their children, Lydia, Natalie, and Chris Hilliard. The movie begins with Daniel doing the voices for a cartoon. When one of them starts smoking a cigarette, he changes the script and the director stops the movie. Daniel says he objects to a cartoon where a character is smoking, and because of this disagreement, he walks out and they fire him. Later, Daniel picks up his kids at school and tells them that he's arranged a surprise birthday party for Chris. But Mom says he's not supposed to have a party because of his bad grades, answers Lydia. The next thing you see is a horde of animals walking around their house in a suburban neighborhood of San Francisco, with the sounds of loud music coming from the house and children running around everywhere. Mrs. Cheney, played by Polly Holliday, she's the neighbor, calls Miranda, and someone, maybe her too, calls the cops to complain about the noise. It doesn't end well. Miranda comes home carrying a humongous birthday cake which gets eaten by a pony, and after everyone leaves, she and Daniel get into a huge screaming match. Miranda wants a divorce, and days later, the custodial agreement limits Daniel to Saturday visits, which make him very unhappy. The court also instructs him to find a job and a place to live, and they will revisit the custodial arrangements within 6 months. Desperate to see his kids more often, Daniel finds a job packing films into boxes and shipping them out. However, the job doesn't make him happy, and his apartment is a mess. Miranda tells him that she's placing an ad in the paper for housekeeper cook to be there when the kids come home, and he sabotages the ad so people don't call her number. Using his alternative voice skills, he pretends to be different women calling Miranda about the job. Daniel visits his brother Frank, played by Harvey Fierstein, and his partner Jack, played by Scott Capurro, who are professional makeup artists. After several hilarious attempts, they come up with a woman's look so Daniel can dress up and pretend to be a housekeeper and apply for Miranda's job. She or he gets the job, and I'll stop here. What would you like to say, Marco, after this?
Woo! That was some of this movie, but a lot of it was like, ooh.
I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
Some of it was funny, some of it was sad. and everything else was just like, okay,
Was what?
okay. And so, this movie's pretty good. It's not as good as Tootsie. And
Which have different actors, and it's a completely different story. This is actually based on a book, but I don't have the name of the book. But I think the book has the name Mrs. Doubtfire in it, doesn't it?
yeah.
So if you want to try to look at the book and
I
see
think
how
it's
they
called Alias Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh yeah, I think that's right.
So
if you want to look up the book and make a comparison, you're welcome. I didn't even know there was a book, so I don't know if I would have read it because I liked Robin Williams in the movie, and the book. I don't think the book would do much for me.
It's a classic. It's not something you watch all the time. It's just fun. You probably like it a lot better as a kid. Maybe. I don't know. There are a lot of mixed things about it because it's really funny, but then it's really sad. Well, it's really dramatic.
Well, I thought all the parts that were funny years ago when I first saw it, when Daniel goes through all his different crazy experiences being Mrs. Doubtfire, becoming Mrs. Doubtfire, all the close calls with people who might find him out, etc. They're all still funny, and I still laugh just as much. However, Marco asked me to watch a half an hour's worth of 20 deleted scenes. And if they had kept these in, I don't believe I would have experienced the same happy feeling from watching this movie.
Ooh.
and if they had kept some of these deleted scenes, Mrs. Doubtfire would have leaned more of being a drama than a comedy. And that's why in the very beginning, when I talked about how happy I was about editing, that I'm happy they had the editor take his or her weed whacker and cut everything out, except for maybe a couple of scenes which I thought could have been left in, which involved the bus driver and her picking out the clothes to be Mrs. Doubtfire. Because if you recall in the movie, she gets all the help with the makeup and the hair, and actually gets like a rubber mask and bodysuit and all this stuff, but you never see the clothes. And I thought, well, do they have the clothes in their apartment? Do they have that kind of thing there too? Or
no, they're buying it on the street.
But in the deleted scene, they show them like a Goodwill thing on the street, I guess, and she gets clothes out there. So it wasn't a very long scene. It was very short, but at least I don't know why they couldn't have left that in. It was real short. I mean, just very short, maybe a minute or two.
And so Robin Williams is really good, and Sally Fields is really good, even though she's top 10 movie villains of all time. And everybody else is really good. The movie's really good. I mean, do you guys really need me to tell you that this movie's really good? Do I really need to go into detail about why this movie's good and
well, I would
why it's a classic?
I would strongly suggest that everyone watch the deleted scene footage on YouTube, because you won't regret it. Because some of the scenes are very ugly in terms of the neighbor, Mrs. Cheney, a spelling bee where Liddy screws up because her parents get into a not physical, but a public fight, and the scene where Daniel comes home after the birthday dinner and confronts Miranda.
Well, here's where I wanted to veer the discussion towards, because I knew that, like, I mean, everybody knows Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, you don't really need to, like, unless your opinion is like, oh, I hate this movie. You know, I mean, like, everybody likes it. It's a Robin Williams movie. So, what I wanted to say is that when I was younger, number one, I thought that voice acting, I thought that was like a one-time job. Like, I didn't realize that he was just walking out on, like, years and years of being that voice. So, that's something that I think the movie should have explained a little bit. And And also, when I've watched the movie, every single time until I saw the deleted scenes, I thought that the main two characters should have gotten back together. But in the deleted scenes, it makes it very clear that they shouldn't have gotten back together and that they're not right for each other. And so I really think that even though the deleted scenes are more dramatic, that they're really like integral for especially children to understand that this is not a functional family.
Well, I'm glad they left him out. I can understand your point, but I was glad they left him out because I don't think it would have been the same kind of movie. And some of the scenes were very ugly. And I know that you have mentioned that you would have liked it. What happens was Mrs. Doubtfire and the neighbor to Miranda, well, his old neighbor too, Mrs. Sellner, she has the most
No,
magnificently
no,
beautiful
no, that's the
flowers.
court liaison. It's Mrs. Cheney that's the
I
neighbor.
know it was Mrs. Cheney, sorry.
Ugh.
And she has the most beautiful flowers. And this is a neighborhood where the houses are like right on top of each other. So anything that's ugly or disgusting or anything about a house will affect everything around it because they're so close together. You know, they don't have any yards. It's like these are the kind of houses that have postage stamp yards. That's what I refer these kinds of yards. And well, she has all this beautiful flowers, and she's well. I don't want to give the scene away. I really suggest you watch these scenes because there's like maybe 4 or 5 scenes with this neighbor and Mrs.
Four.
Doubtfire. That's a lot though. Compared to all the
And
other scenes in this group, there's 20
well,
deleted scenes, so that's like
she
a
deserved
fifth.
she deserved what happened.
Well, we're not going to reveal what
Yeah, we'll
happens.
talk about it in the spoiler.
Well,
But
I thought we weren't going to do that.
we're gonna do spoiler at the end.
Well,
And
I'll let you handle that, but I didn't care for it. I thought it was really ugly, and it
well,
made it very dark.
I think that when you have dark stuff like that, it makes the comedy pop out more.
I
Because,
don't know.
because like you have a movie like Heather's, and and there's so much dark stuff in it that it makes you appreciate the light stuff even more. And that's what I think that Mrs. Doubtfire could have done. That's what I think Tootsie does. Because even though I actually think Tootsie is more funny than Doubtfire, Tootsie actually has a lot more drama than Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, the whole movie basically it's about unemployment and being an actor and then the romance between him and that blondie and like it's not a straight up comedy, but everybody remembers the comedy more because it sticks out more. And because the drama, I mean, the kind of drama in this movie, it's like so melodramatic.
But I mean, it wouldn't be as melodramatic if you. I mean, it isn't as melodramatic because those scenes were left out. It's really like an undercurrent of tension and
Yeah,
ugliness.
it's an
But it's not,
undercurrent.
doesn't glare out
Uh,
like like Robin Williams playing Mrs. Doubtfire.
yeah.
So anyway,
And so, I don't like the courtroom scenes. Having to sit there watch 2 courtroom scenes, but I guess they're integral to the movie. At the same time,
well, they influence everything that happens, though.
I don't know.
They influence him. The thing about the custodial agreement is that he can only see his kids on Saturday, and he is so upset because he hasn't been apart from his kids since they've been born. So just seeing them once a week, it tears him up, and that's why he's so desperate that he wants to, that he just, and he's so good at voices, and and improv that he decides to be this female character.
Well, you know, Chris Columbus loves to do sappy crap, though. Like,
Well, I know. I just think that when people who've seen this a long time ago, like me, well, what do they remember about? Do they remember all that ugly stuff with courtroom scenes? No,
uh,
they remember him being
well,
Mrs. Doubtfire and how funny
that's
that
because it's
was.
the only good stuff, and like, that should have been the whole movie.
Well, I don't know because see, he has a reason to do that, and it actually, in the end, it becomes his living to be Mrs. Doubtfire, and that they go through all that. And I'm not gonna because you just have to if you haven't seen the movie, because I believe after Marco mentioned to me that some people he's listened to on YouTube have never seen the movie Psycho, which
And
kind of freaked me
if you
out.
haven't seen Psycho, you're not a movie fan. Sorry.
So I believe there's probably some people who've never seen Mrs. Doubtfire, which surprises me too. So I'm not going to say anything else about that. That her becoming Mrs. Doubtfire, that actually becomes her living later on, but you'll see how that all works out. And it's a really good movie. And of course, it got a Golden Globe for Best Movie. So
I think it's in the top tier though, because I mentioned I don't like drama and comedy, but there are all the comedies that come out nowadays. They're always these like dramas in disguise, and so it's really irritating.
well, there's nothing hidden about this
And
drama.
but I think this movie does it really well. And all the movies that come out nowadays, it's like like Mean Girls. That's a drama in disguise, and just really bad comedies like that. But I think that this is in the top tier. So I definitely have to give it props for being one of the better drama comedies. Dramedies. And also, did I want to talk about something else?
Well, do you want to give your review of it, like what you would give it, and then you want to do the spoilers?
Maybe. Well, okay, I would rate it. I'm surprised you remembered to rate it. I was gonna make fun of you for forgetting.
No, I didn't forget.
I would give it broccoli cheddar soup. And the reason why is because the cheddar soup part is more of like the comedy, and then the courtroom crap is more of the drama stuff is more of the broccoli. So it's like the broccoli is like it's requiring. I mean, I know Robin Williams is cool, but it feels like he produced it so he could give this message out that it's okay to have a divorced family. And so I feel like it's like, okay, eat your broccoli and your soup. And so, but with the deleted scenes, if they had kept those in, I would give this movie broccoli cheddar soup with garlic bread on the side. Because there's spiciness and really, I don't know how to describe it. It's weird. But still, I mean, I like the laundry scene's cool. Remember the laundry scene where he's doing the laundry and he
Where the washer overflows all over
yeah,
the floor.
and he accidentally answers the phone as Daniel, and yeah, that was funny.
Oh, there was a lot of funny parts. I mean, it's a lot when he's Mrs. Doubtfire. He becomes Mrs. Doubtfire while he's Mrs. Doubtfire. Him seeing somebody that knows him and having to hide. I mean, uh, there's all kinds of funny scenes with it. You can't
Yeah.
escape that. So even the restaurant before it became horribly ugly, it was hilarious because of what was going on there. So
I thought that was a little too perfect, which is why you forgot about the other deleted scene of where a woman found the clothes and
yeah,
uh
yeah, that I agree. That was a scene that should have been left in. When they go to the Amanda has a birthday dinner, and Stu, who's Pierce Brosnan, who's her new client, but she also knows him before, and they're kind of having a little relationship. Um, he wants to take her out to dinner, so they want to have Mrs. Doubtfire and the kids come too. And so at the same night, Daniel has a job interview
Yeah.
in the same restaurant at the same time, so he has to go back and forth.
And that's too perfect. It's one of those very contrived situations that it's purposefully like this is gonna break everything. This is gonna be the downfall.
Yeah, but he has to change back and forth from being Mrs. Doubtfire to Daniel to go to that job interview dinner, back to the birthday dinner as Mrs. Doubtfire, and he has his clothes in the bag next to the toilet. And in the deleted scene, a woman finds the clothes and turns them into Lost and Found.
Another thing that I didn't notice before is that you know how he was ragging on smoking early in the movie. Well, he actually chose for them to sit. I know it's because the guy was sitting in the non-smoking.
The employer.
But he chose for them to sit in the smoking section, and I thought that was a little bit of that was ironic.
Marco says in an English class he learns that's called dramatic irony. So.
And well, it's just I mean it's really funny how like earlier in the movie, oh I don't want to teach kids to smoke, and now I'm gonna let these people, the kids that I love so much, I'm gonna let them sit in a smoking room like that. It's really, and so now let's move on to. Oh, wait,
well, I have to get my. Okay, I think I would give this movie a banana split.
Ew.
Who doesn't like to eat one of those? And Robin Williams, who was a genius at improvisation, is so amazing in this movie. But one ingredient I don't like in a banana split is pineapple. But I put up with it because it's part of the dessert, even though I don't like it.
That's what you get at Ritter's.
While I like everything else about the movie, the pineapple would stand for the drama, like the fighting in front of the kids. Rest in peace, Robin Williams.
That's weird. Especially since we're going to do spoilers now.
Well, I'll let you take care of that.
You already spoiled the climactic sequence. Well, okay. So the deleted scenes, they give a lot more character to Lydia, the sister, and I feel like her character, I mean, the thing that it's never really resolved how she's really stubborn at first. Like her character, I don't know, she just seems like she has more to say or more to do than what was in the movie. And it's true because they have deleted scenes. And as I said before, the deleted scenes make it clear that they should not be together. And I mean, kids watching this shit, they shouldn't think that these people should be together. They should think, God, it's great that they're divorced.
Yeah.
And so, do you have anything else to say?
I just wanted to say that an additional note that the little boy, Chris, who's played by Matthew Lawrence, we thought of two movies that he's in after this movie, and one is when he's in his early 20s. It's called Boltneck. It's a Frankenstein movie about high school kids in Frankenstein. And then when he's older, like around in his 30s, you can see him in a grown-up fun role called Santa and Me, where he plays Santa's son who's looking for a wife. So I just thought...
Hey, have you guys ever seen Boltneck?
Boltneck is a really good movie and scary movie, but it's not real scary.
Well, it's a mix. Originally, it was supposed to be a lot darker.
I don't know how to describe the movie.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. Is there anything else you'd like to say about
Mrs.
Mrs.
Doubtfire.
Mrs.
Well,
Doubtfire?
it's coming up on the 25th anniversary, so maybe they'll release
A director's
a
cut.
director's cut that includes those deleted scenes. But if not, I would stress to people to watch them and to see how you would feel. Should they have been the majority of those left? Have they been left in? Would that have made the movie better, or do you think like me that I think it was good that they left them out, and that but Marco said it would have been better if they would have left them in. Not
Yeah.
talking about all the scenes. We're talking about, I there was a couple with the bus driver where the bus driver asked Mrs. Doubtfire out, and the way
Which
she
obviously was going to happen.
the way she answers and everything was very pleasant and grown up, and I thought it was really nice, and I thought it was really good, and I wish they would have left it in.
Yeah. Because his character just disappears like an Andy Griffith character. If you don't know what we're talking about, you'll know when we do a full study on them and their weirdness. So we also didn't talk about Mrs. Cheney. Remember Mrs. Cheney? Everything that happens to her.
Is that the neighbor or the court liaison?
The neighbor. And
Yeah.
she deserved everything that happened to her.
Yeah, I don't like that. Those are in the deleted scenes. Like we said, there's 4 deleted scenes, Marco says, and I'll just say what she wants, but I'm not going to say anything else, but I think you should watch it, because it's really a big chunk, really, of movie that they didn't have her in it, and she says terrible things about Daniel to Mrs. Doubtfire, because she doesn't know Mrs. Doubtfire is Daniel, that he's a wife beater, he beats up his kids, and all this.
He cheats on her.
It's all this terrible stuff, which isn't true.
And you know she's probably told that to other people,
Yeah,
including like the judge.
malicious gossip, which isn't even true, and so. You can see that Mrs. Doubtfire, or Daniel, is seething, and probably smoke is coming out of his ears if it could. And he gets back at her, and you'll see, and it affects her flowers.
She deserves it.
Marco thinks she deserves it, but I don't like
she
it.
She really deserves it.
I don't like the whole thing. I don't like what she said, and I don't like what he does to her.
And
it's a darkness that they show about
everybody loves those scenes.
No, I don't.
Everybody.
I don't. So.
What kind of I'm not gonna say the line.
Okay, well, maybe we should wrap it up now.
Okay, well.
Okay, well, we'll be back to.
What else do we have? We have to review My Bodyguard.
What?
And Hitch.
I'm not reviewing any movie called My Bodyguard.
Here we are.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And Game Night and Master Chef Junior.
Yes, we'll be coming back to review the latest episode of The Alienist on Monday.
Ugh.
And we will try to. We were going to be reviewing Master Chef. What is it, Junior?
Junior.
Which just aired last night. So be looking for our reviews of that and The Alienist and Game Night, Hitch.
My Bodyguard.
And I don't know what that is. This is the first I've heard of it. I don't remember hearing anything about any bodyguard movie.
My Bodyguard.
And I think Marco's teasing me. So anyway, see you soon.
You're gonna hate it.
Bye, everybody.